Hello, friends. This is episode 5.
I'm Debbie.
I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Lisa McIntyre. Welcome to Working Wonders.
We're so sorry that Stephanie isn't here with us tonight, but she is actually our working wonder of this evening. She started advertising Pop Drops after Christmas, and she said she's up to number 134, and she's probably going to work through the night, so she can't make it to us, but she's our working wonder, so woohoo!
Yeah, it's great.
Yay, Stephanie. So yeah, we're sad she can't be here, but we're so happy that she is busy.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, tonight is episode 5. It is the one where we're going to be putting 2020 to bed. I think we're all ready for this year to end and hopeful for next year. And if you guys haven't noticed yet, we are wearing our pajamas. Woo! Hey! I should say, there it is. Kathy wanted chaos. That is my life. And look at that. It's bonus points. We're not going to say on the show just yet, but bonus points if anybody can recognize where Ronnie's hoodie's from. Like, not where she bought it from, but what show is that from? Come on, y'all. Don't disappoint.
I also have a tail.
I don't even know, so I couldn't even guess.
Debbie's going to be surprised. So part of putting 2020 to bed is we're going to be reflecting on this past year.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's best always to focus on the positive. I mean, it's okay to acknowledge the challenges you had, but then, focus on how you overcame them, right?
Well, that's why it says the good, the bad, and the ugly. You always start with the good.
Steve?
Sometimes the ugly actually comes out good.
Well, Steve I sort of always believe that the ugly.
Steve knew, of course he knew.
Yeah, yeah. We got a couple kids at heart in the audience. Yay, my kind of people. It is impossible to tell who came in first, but it looks like it might be Hannah True that said Phineas and Ferb. We get DJ Morrow with Perry the Platypus. We got to give him a little extra credit for actually naming the character. Not that Steve and Hannah didn't know, and of course Steve got it as well.
Where is it from?
It's from the show called Phineas and Ferb.
I've heard of
on the Disney Channel, and it's one of my favorite cartoons. But more so than that, I am obsessed with platypuses.
Many platypus.
All of them. But it always cracks me up because they're always like, "Where's Perry?" And he's like, "He's a secret agent."
The platypus is a secret agent.
The platypus is a secret agent.
I gotta look this one up.
He's got the Dick Tracy hat on, right?
That's when he's.
Oh, that's funny.
He's Agent P, and he has a nemesis, Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
That's always my favorite kind of name.
It's the best cartoon ever.
Dusseldorf?
Doofenshmirtz, because it's Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Gotcha. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Any character that has its own theme song, like every now and then when I'm working, I will admit that I do play the Perry the Platypus theme song in my head.
He has his own theme song.
He has his own theme song. That and
all
Kronk's
spies have their own theme song. All good spies have their own theme song.
If you've seen The Emperor's New Groove, Kronk has his own theme song that he sings, and I will sing that sometimes as I'm gathering equipment in the balloon room.
Okay. That was a long time ago. I don't even remember his theme song, but I do remember the movie.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Perry the Platypus. So I finally got a onesie, and it has pockets. It has pockets.
Oh, bonus points for the pockets. I was pretty excited. It had a hat on the hood, which I thought was, that's a bold fashion choice, but there you go. But it's got pockets. That's very redeeming of really any article of clothing, is if it has pockets.
Absolutely. I don't think men can understand that.
No,
I don't understand it because everything they always have pockets.
Yeah, they have actual pockets. The only time that women get real pockets, before recently, a lot of like dressmakers have actually put real pockets in dresses now. But before that, it was cargo shorts and pants. Yeah. That was the only time that you could get a real pocket, and then you had like 27. So
And you have
Yeah,
to remember what you put in which one.
Yeah, not to take us further down this rabbit hole, but I was just reading recently that one of the reasons why women's clothing stopped carrying pockets was so that women couldn't carry hexes and spells, and like it was like to deter witchcraft. And I was just
That's
kind of like,
hilarious.
I thought it's because we wouldn't look hippie.
I thought that
Right?
it was because the purse industry got together in like the fashion world and they were like, hey, you need to not give them pockets so that they buy purses and handbags.
Oh, that's so interesting. Except now they have to be big enough that you can put your cell phone in. And as the cell phones get bigger, the purses get smaller.
Well, remember when the tiny backpack was a thing?
I still have a little backpack.
I do too. I have two
do.
of them.
I have an assortment.
I wear it very often when I work. When
Mhm.
I like to leave my purse in the car, but sometimes you can't because you're in a shady neighborhood. So I wear it on my back, then I have both my hands.
Yeah, it's great. I
And
love
it doesn't
it. I
knock
still
into
have
you.
my
Like
tiny backpack somewhere.
if you wear a crossbody, you're always
Mhm.
bumping into it. So
Yeah.
I have a little crossbody that I'll take with me on jobs. My husband has the same one. It's actually like a pretty manly looking one, but it's cool because it has a thing to go over through a belt loop. So you can wear it on your side or you can wear it as the crossbody and then it actually will convert into a little backpack. But the thing is like this big. It looks so silly as a backpack. So I just make him wear his as a cross or just as a side thing. But yeah, it's great. I love that little thing.
I have one of those Shark Tank
Anyway,
ones where you can use your phone through the plastic. So
Now, do you guys wear those at gigs?
I do.
sometimes.
You know, my apron is my hold everything bag.
So
Now
I do that too. I put my keys in my purse, you know.
yeah,
my
I'll usually
wallet.
have my backpack with me, but that's like the thing that like holds my hoodie whenever I get too warm, or it has, you know, extra
water
water
bottle.
bottles or
Mhm.
my lunch or something in it. But it's like all of my valuables, everything that I need to work the gig, that's on me. So if my backpack walks away, I would be pretty hangry, but my car keys and my phone and those kinds of
Yeah.
things are actually on my person,
Yeah.
as well
Yeah.
as, you know, scissors, tape, and all that kind of stuff. But spoilers for an upcoming episode.
Yes, I was thinking you're giving away the
That's
story.
a subject for next week.
Yeah, it's well,
That's just
yeah,
a
next
teaser,
year.
folks.
Next year, yeah, teaser
Oh
for
my
next year. We're
goodness.
going to be going over some of our essential equipment and tools.
Yes.
But what about this year? Does anybody have a particular, you know, way that they pivoted? Anything extremely positive to share, or, you know, poopy that you made less poopy?
I started doing those marquee letters. I don't call them marquee letters though, because that confused a lot of my customers when we talked about like the light up marquee letters that we will sometimes offer if people ask. But we call them celebration numbers. And so that way, if anybody had, if it was a birthday party or we did a birthday, we did a wedding anniversary, the wedding anniversary and a retirement were the two unique ones. No, the most unique one is I actually had a friend who hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Oh my.
And so they ordered a celebration number and we did the one with the M and then million on it for his 1 million subscribers on.
Do you mean
on
the
YouTube.
ones with the lights or the ones with balloons inside?
With the balloons. So we other people were calling them marquees, and I didn't like that, so we started calling them celebration numbers.
I've heard several people are not happy with that particular name.
And you know what? I feel like it's that thing where like I don't call organic garland to my customers. I just call it garland because for me, when people contact me, they're not looking for the standard stack when they're ordering garland. So automatically garland is organic. Yeah. And same thing like with when we do the arches and things, we call it it's a classic arch or a garland arch, you know, just to make it simple for people because when people aren't in the industry most of the time, even now to this day, I've been in business now for 4 years and I still have clients who have been coming to me for 4 years that if I say organic, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
And when I have people who say, I want to order one of those garlands, I said, do you mean one that goes from the floor back up to the floor? Or do you want the one that like is swoopy and has all different size balloons? Yeah, that one. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah,
oh,
people will call them
organic.
arches too. Yeah, they even if they just want garland, they'll still call it an arch. And it's like, well, do you actually want an arch, or do you want it where it goes like up one side and across the top? Oh, I want up and across. Okay,
Okay, then we
that's
know
what I thought. Yeah. Yep.
we have to
That's
train
something.
our customers.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Yeah,
favorite is
talking
when they ask for an arc. How many people do
an arch.
you sell those arcs?
An
And
arc.
and my first thing I want to say, because I'm a little snarky sometimes, is why is it raining outside? Like, why do you want an arc?
Is
Oh
it
my.
cloudy with a chance of rain?
Yes, and then
What's going on?
or what was somebody wearing the other day? Sassy with a chance of sarcasm, right?
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was
Stephanie
Stephanie.
had that the other day.
I think it was
I
during our
love it.
production meeting that she was wearing that, and I'm like,
But so I try as
if we
soon
were
as I
meeting in person,
can.
I would have knocked her down and taken it off of her. I loved it.
Right?
When I can,
I
as
love
soon as
it.
I can in the conversation, I try and work in the word arch so that they, but it
Yeah,
doesn't always
I'll
work.
let them know
politely
before
lead
I send
them
the
to the
contract.
correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
usually work.
Or we'll do the thing where I text them a photo and let them know, like, this is kind of what it's gonna look like, and this is how I'm putting it in the contract, and I put everything in text or email so that way they can see the picture of it. And it's a good thing that I do that, because sometimes people are like, oh no, we want it to go all the way to the ground, so like they'll change their mind, and it's like, okay, that's an extra,
But
that's
that way
extra
they know what
money.
they're getting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Crystal
that.
Ruton says that she calls them collages. Steve Jones says that he calls them tableaus.
Ooh, I like that. Tableaus.
And Christy Carpenter Farrell says that she always gets questioned about organic. I think that's kind of, people don't know what they don't know, right? The terminology
and it's a stupid
is just
name when you.
Oh,
I always wanted to know where it came from. Like, why organic?
It came. Somebody called it that. I forget what her name is. She has a YouTube video of it, and she called it organic.
That doesn't narrow it down at all.
Right? There's 5 people I could think of off the top of my head.
Somebody in the audience will remember Steve will probably remember what her name is.
Yeah, like who chose
She
organic?
decided, and that was it. We were all stuck with it.
Well, it's always one of those things where one person says it, and then everybody just runs with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but what else would you call it though?
I agree.
Unconventional, or
because we started calling the like regular arch classic just because everybody was so used to seeing the, so calling it a classic kind of became that like dumb it down terminology for the client, so they know, like, oh yeah, we just want a classic arch just with 4 colors or whatever.
Well, it makes sense because that's classic balloon decor, so it really makes sense to call that classic arches.
Steve has no clue. Wow.
Steve has no clue.
I'm shocked. He knows everybody and everything.
I can picture her, and she built it in a really weird way too, with like chicken wire. Like I'll find it out for you. I will discover it.
People are doing that. You said with chicken wire. So this year for Christmas, the big thing that the DIY was taking chicken wire and putting bulbs on it, and then gluing the bulbs, and it looks like organic, but with Christmas bulbs, and it looked so cute. And I was like, if I'm gonna do that, I'm just gonna do it with 5-inchers, because I'm not sitting there hot gluing. I'm not hot gluing balloons to chicken wire for Christmas. I'll just make it out of balloons.
So we've got a couple comments here in the audience. Crystal Ruton pointed out to Steve about the tableaus. Good luck pronouncing that in the South unless you live in Nala. Which I would have to say I was pretty impressed that I recognized that word and I knew how to pronounce it. So pat myself on the back there, but I didn't make a fool of myself. I would have just kept scrolling past that comment. And Hannah True says, I think that the balloons aren't sized, they're more natural, so they're organic, which that was what my understanding
That's where it comes from, but it's still
it was just kind of just natural. You blow it up and you tie it. You're not caring about the sizing, so it's organic. And I'm like, I think that fits.
So every time I think of organic, all I think of is vegetables.
Yeah.
I
Well,
always think that.
Or
right?
chickens.
Right?
Like, are
And
the balloons organic? Like, sure.
Rebecca Wareham says it's a hot mess, and she's right.
Well, I always have a love-hate with organic because I love that there's no wrong. Nobody can tell me I did it wrong. Like it, but I hate it because it has no recipe. So it takes so much longer because even though now we sort of have a recipe that we do, we have 2 or 3 different ways we do it, but it's still not, it's not the same. It's like, I like classic decor, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, you do them, bing, boom, boom, and you're done.
Right. And Dory Pomerantz Sapol says that her clients call it the bubbly balloons, which
I like it.
that fits, the bubbly balloons.
I like it.
And Crystal says, haha, too much work. Now I agree. I usually tell people, I'm, especially like new people, if they ever ask me, how do you charge for that? I'm like, organic takes three times the amount of time, 3 times the amount of product. So you should be charging about 3 times the amount of price. Like, keep that in mind. Like, that's how I tell my clients too, whenever they want organic or they want, your classic garland. And I always say classic. I started off calling it basic. And that
classic is a much.
We called it standard for about a month, and then Dave was like, we cannot call it standard because that sounds tacky.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know, classic, and he was like, that sounds much better.
I like classic. I really do.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And
Steve
now
says that the first organic garland, as he understand it, was done with chicken wire and hot glue with balloons.
Yes, that's what
Probably.
I'm telling you. And it was on YouTube. I wish I could remember.
That sounds about right.
House of Larson, or I'll remember. It'll come.
Smoke coming out your ears there.
House of something balloons.
You'll get it. Maybe you'll peek.
No, I'm not going to Google on my phone. I am totally here in the present.
No. I was going to say maybe you'll jog Steve's memory and he'll remember House of. Oh, I know.
House of something.
We'll have him fact check it
House
for
of
us.
Balloons.
But yeah, it's I have seen people, instead of adding the balloons in the way I would do, they will actually take in like glue dot or U glue and stick the balloons on the organic whenever they need to put it somewhere.
Nope.
And
I saw somebody doing it with hot glue.
Peggy Williams
like, oh, yeah,
is asking, is it the House of Lars?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ronnie.
I think so. Yeah.
Ooh, bonus points to Peggy Williams. Gold star. Boop, there you go.
Of course Peggy will get it. Not even a question.
And that's where it's
still
started.
waiting for that.
Steve, he lost us for a second. He wants to know what he's researching.
Oh, we got it. House of Lars. We got the answer.
I really wanted to give him some homework, but I wasn't witty and quick enough to come up with something. But too late. Peggy Williams beat you to the punch. She gets the gold star tonight, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll come and do a bar mitzvah and lizard lick. That's what I'm gonna do for her.
Yay. You let me know when, and I might get lost and find my way down south. And
I would need a big map to be able to get to Lizard Lick. I don't know. But it's my favorite town in the South, even though I've never been there. I'm waiting.
I just want to go. I just want to go
in the South
where
that you've never been to,
where I can get sweet tea. If I can get sweet tea, I'm there.
Oh my.
They probably have.
If you've never had sweet tea before, you are unprepared for how sweet.
Oh no, I've had it.
Tea is.
I've had
okay.
But that's the thing is, like, there's a difference between like the sweet tea that I can get here and if I go to like Texas or New Orleans or even Florida has better sweet tea.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Peggy Williams put it out there that everyone's invited, so you're gonna have a whole lot of hands. Many hands make light work there on that bat mitzvah there.
Bar mitzvah.
Sweet tea and latkes.
Okay, so full disclosure time, Christy Carpenter Farrell, who could not quite hang until the very end, for good reason, I might add, has asked, what time did we hang it up last night?
Oh, good question.
All right, drum roll, please. The time was 3:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's how we roll in the after party, y'all. We went until it was almost dawn on the East Coast. So
I'm so sad I missed it. I decided to take a nap. I was going to take a 20-minute nap. I closed my eyes at 4 o'clock and I woke up at 2 a.m. And I was like, that was one heck of a nap.
You could have actually joined them. They were still going strong.
I know.
Well,
you were still going.
well, considering the time change, she would have just missed us. So
yeah.
Bummer.
Very sad. Very sad.
We missed you. We kept the party going as long as we could, waiting for you, Ronnie. We really did.
I know.
And
I had it on my calendar and everything. I was so
yeah,
excited.
fun fact, we ended up not actually watching the movie Elf because the conversation just kept rolling. And, who's a bad host to just sit there, okay, y'all, everybody shush,
Stop having
we're going to
fun.
watch a movie now. Like, we were having too much fun chit-chatting. It was just,
Just
it
as
was
good.
organic. But I'm bummed.
It was an organic party. You asked before, Lisa, sorry.
That's okay.
Great.
There are
What's your
many
name
squirrels in this Zoom.
And I wasn't even up till 3 a.m. last night. And you asked about how we pivoted. And in some ways, I think 2020 pivoted on us. Like, I don't think we were really the ones that pivoted. We jumped to try and land on our feet, but I think the whole world pivoted, and we tried very desperately to stay where we were, sort of, kind of. But
Yeah,
we're going to
and
make 2021 better, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's the thing is, I strongly feel that if we are going to be like stuck in that rut, even though it's like the rut we dug and it's exactly what we want, if we're not keeping our eyes open and flexible to change, that we're kind of setting ourselves up for some pretty big disappointments in the future. And when you look at businesses like Blockbuster, right? Redbox killed them in a heartbeat. And, Redbox wasn't even able to hang very long until, once Amazon and Netflix and stuff, where it's just, oh yeah, I'm paying more, but look what I have at my disposal for rentals and things. Like it's right. I don't even have to, like, I can wear my pajamas. And as I had mentioned earlier, somebody in the chat, yes, this is the one with the PJ episode. Any excuse to wear my pajamas, I am all there for that. So, and I'm like, I don't even have to change out my pajamas. Slippers. Just I am too, but they're not my fancy ones. They're just my warm ones.
Mine are downstairs.
Now, these are very warm, but they remind me of the lamb that Sherry Lewis. What was that?
Lamb chop.
Lamb chop. Thank you. I'm telling you, my brain is not functioning.
Thank you for the earworm, Debbie. I just like, oh goodness.
On
yeah. Every time I think of them, like that's immediately what comes to mind. So
yeah, and her with her little,
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was so cute.
It was a sock puppet.
It was adorable.
Which just shows you, by the way, that you can take anything and make it successful. If you're determined, which is a great segue to our vision board. See, I'm just
everybody say hi when they come in. Hi.
Did you pivot, Lisa?
So some of you guys are aware of this. Some of you, I guess, are not. And I do believe I mentioned some of this in my origin story episode. I had some pretty scary health concerns at the end of the year, beginning of the year. And long story short, they found a mass in my abdomen, and we were potentially going to be dealing with cancer treatments and that kind of thing. And they kept pushing back my test results, not my test results, but my tests to get results. They had done everything that they could, because this was all really starting to pick up right around the time COVID was really hitting and they're shutting everything down. And I had a fantastic surgeon, and he really went to bat for me. And he's like, look, what we have says that she, all the results that we have says that she doesn't have cancer, but there's definitely something going on there, and we don't like what we see on the scans. Just because the blood work says one thing doesn't mean when we get in there we're going to see something else, because that's like how it happens. And and the scary part is that if it turns out that it would be cancer, it would be the bad kind, the kind that you don't put off for 6 to 8 months, until things start opening up with the pandemic. It's the stuff you take care of right now. And so that was what I did early in the year. And because I knew that was coming, I had already basically kind of like shut down my business because I didn't know how well I was going to recover and that kind of thing afterwards. And so it's just, for me, ended up being kind of a blessing, if you will, kind of like a natural transition into we're closed for 2020. It allowed me to be here for my kids. My daughter was finishing her senior year of high school, her final year, and my son was in 7th grade. He's now in 8th. He's my my only one in school now, and it allowed me to be a parent full time. You guys have probably heard me mention probably more than once at this point that I always considered myself a stay-at-home parent that works. Whereas I love my job, I do, but as I think many of us would agree, you know, your family is your priority, and that's the reason why I love my job. I should say one of the big reasons why I love my job so much is because it affords me that flexibility.
That's right.
And so I would be working right now. I have had plenty enough of inquiries and that kind of thing. Could be doing yard art up the yin yang, but I'm just like, you know, my son in particular needs me right now. And you know, so that's where I've been. Now I've done subcontracting work with other balloon studios and friends who have, you know, they need an extra set of hands. And I know who I'm working with. I know that bubble, you know, and I know that they're treating it seriously, the pandemic. And so I know that I'm limiting my exposure whenever I go out to those jobs. And so those are the only jobs that I've taken this year. I've turned down things like twisting balloons at birthday parties. And goodness, I did have one person hit me up for face painting, and I was like, no.
Are you insane?
No. I just,
Yeah.
you know, and it was just kind of like, hey, we'll do it off the books. And I'm just like, no, like,
Like, I don't think you understand the actual problem.
yeah, that's that, you know, getting in trouble with the law is, I'm doing lots of air quotes this episode. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Air quotes. Getting in trouble with the law was never my concern. You know, my parents who live, I'm in New York, my parents are in Florida. They live very far away from me. I am not going to get them sick. But you know, my mother was taking care of my grandmother, who's 100 years old and compromised. My mother, you know, is not in the best of health. I mean, you know, she's doing pretty good for her age and all that, but you know, I worry. And my dad is 18 years now with a liver transplant, and so he's taking this very
Wow.
seriously. You know, if we have a little sniffle on the phone as we're driving over to his house, he's like, nope, turn around and go back. So he was already in, like, you know, that mode before the pandemic hit. And so I think about them, you know, by me, because I can, I have a savings built up, you know, from the good years. And my husband and I were a dual income family, and my husband is an essential worker. He works at a power plant, and he's, you know, been employed this whole time. His work at his job has not slowed down. And so we have his steady income coming in. I have my savings, and it allows me to be here with my kids. So that's how I pivoted, if you will, is that I pulled back. And as I had mentioned, I think on the last episode, and we'll get to this in my vision board, but I'm looking to rebrand, and I have been for a number of years, and I'm like, what a great time to rebrand in 2021, whenever things are starting to open back up again, and I'm going back into things full force. And so in a nutshell,
pivot, though. That is a pivot, even though you
it's
didn't
just a
pivot.
long delayed reaction pivot.
No, but even pivoting in the beginning of the year and deciding you're going to shut down for a while, that's also, if it's a decision, then it's a pivot.
Oh,
it's
and
only not, if it's not a decision and you end up like many people did, unfortunately, with no work, that's not a pivot. That's something sad that happened to you, and you have to make a decision whether you're going to keep pursuing it later or whatever. But if you made the decision really before, then that was a decision you made, and there's a whole big difference in that. And I think that's why you got through this in such a good way.
yeah,
even though you
and
weren't working,
there's a few people that are like, I'm really happy to have slowed down because I never take a break, and I never, you know, all these things. And I'm like, that's nice. And they're like, well, because they've been in business for so long, they're like, this was a nice break that I never ever would have given myself, because we're just constantly, you know, getting work that it's like I can actually breathe. And
Steve
and
said that on Sunday. He said in the beginning he was just so happy. I think everybody was, like, we had worked so hard, and it was sort of like, okay, I don't mind a 3-4 week vacation. April, May, going to be all back. We're going to be fine, you know?
Mhm.
And by the
Mhm.
time we realized it wasn't, then we were starting to think about the truth is, I can't even say we pivoted. We were pivoted upon. In other words, we were
Mhm.
really thinking like, what's going to be? What are we going to do with our cars? And what are we going to have a business in 6 months? And then people started doing things outside.
There's
And
so
we
many
didn't
Yeah.
silver
even,
linings if you
they
look for
came to
them.
us, you know, people who were our customers, and they said, we need you to do this. We want to celebrate that outside. And
Mhm.
it just sort of happened to us. I can't even claim credit for it. Then we decided, you know, we started to market it and whatever, but in the beginning it was just somebody called us to do something. She was desperate to do something for her grandchildren, and she had to do it outside, and I'm skulking around 8 o'clock in the morning in a glove. At that time I was still wearing gloves and a mask, and I'm thinking, if somebody sees me, they're going to think I'm robbing this house, because I'm,
Yes,
you know.
Yeah.
yeah,
And they
you
saw the
totally look
balloons
the
in my
look.
hand. I figure, you know, what balloon
Yeah.
person would be a robber?
Yeah. My first drive. So weird to say it this way. My first drive-by arch. It was really interesting because it was same thing. Like a customer came to me and they were like, instead of doing like a big arch, can you do just one that somebody can stand underneath? And I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. And so that was nice to do those. And so marketing those has, I really love doing those little mini arches.
Yeah,
Like
me
we,
too.
we were like, we do them for the drive-by. We did one for prom photos, because it
Yeah.
was just the kids. It was just the two kids that were going to be there. So making it smaller, I was able to put more detail in it because it was smaller. And now I'm like, can I do more? I just want to do these when I do arches. Like, forget the big arch, although making an arch big enough for a party bus to drive underneath was definitely the highlight of 2020 for me. I've never
Oh,
made
a
an
party
arch that
bus.
big.
Wow, how long was that?
Yeah, it was 35 feet of aeropole, and
And a party bus could go under
the
it?
party
Wow.
bus fits under the aeropole. If anybody
Wow.
needs to know, it takes 7 poles, and you just push it together. I got video of the party bus coming through with the music, and I was all excited, and it was definitely the highlight of 2020 for me, making
That's
making
great.
a party bus arch, because they were
Now we
doing
know
all
who to call.
the drive through, graduations. And so one of the kids, their family got a party bus for everybody, and
Oh, that's nice.
I was like,
One
it'll fit.
for us, that was actually one of the benefits of this year. We were always nervous about those big arches that people drive through. And then I sound like I'm plugging the boss, but we took that course that Steve offered, even though we've been doing arches forever.
Yeah.
But I'm really not sucking up, I promise. Well, maybe
Maybe just a little.
not intentionally. It fell on me. But we got confidence in doing these big arches that cars can
Hmm.
drive under, and we were always nervous about it. And we always thought, you know, we talked people, but we couldn't talk them out of it because there wasn't much alternative now. So we
Yeah.
were so happy to take that now, 100 pounds of weight on each side, and
Hmm.
we know it's not going. The truth is, even with 100 pounds, sometimes I think it could go. Once did go somewhere because
It was so windy the day that
it
we
was
did
so
ours.
windy. There was
That
a
was
storm.
that was my biggest concern. I was like, if this thing blows over, there's nothing that we can do about it. Like, there's nothing. Like, it's if it blows over, it blows over. I think we put 100 pounds on each side, and then we did the extra reinforcement with the because, like I said, we used Aeropol for it. We made sure to do the extra reinforcement, and then I actually duct tape. And I know it doesn't say to do this, and I'm not saying for people to do this, but what I do when I take my Aeropol outside, is I will actually put a piece of duct tape where the pole slides over, and I put a little piece of, and it probably doesn't do a
No,
single
we
thing.
do that.
It's
It's like the
probably
guy
not
with the
doing
mattress on his
anything.
roof that puts his hand out the window, like
Yeah,
to
like
hold it down. Like if a big gust of
that's
wind, his
exactly.
hand is going to 60 miles an hour down the highway, and his hand is going to keep that
like
mattress on the roof of his car.
like I doubt that little piece of duct tape is doing anything, but it makes me feel better. And then with that plus the 5 foot of conduit, I mean, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't fly away, even though it was windy, and it didn't even like it. I have video of it dancing.
Well, I have my
Like,
classic Aeropol story where we put an arch out in front of a supermarket. And later on, my son went to that supermarket. I said, "Did you?" He said, "Oh, I saw your columns." I said, "I didn't do columns. I did an arch." He says, "Ma, I've been watching you long enough. It wasn't an arch. It was two columns." I said, "Joe, I did an orange. Anyhow, of course, I drove to the supermarket. I don't even know how it happened. The middle piece flew off.
Oh,
Supermarket just stood them up as two columns, put the middle piece inside the store. We're not even angry at me, which is like a miracle. They've called me since, and yeah, and we had taped it. We did all the things we're supposed to. So that's my classic Aeropol story. Now I use PVC instead.
I let
Uh,
Dave does the taping for it because he just does a better tape job on it than me because I'm just like, meh, it's good. And he like sits there meticulously like rolls it and like in a layer and he does all this fancy. I'm like,
That's Judy.
all right,
He and Judy would
it's
get along
fine.
really well.
Yeah.
I
He's
just
like, I'm doing the he does this cute thing where he takes it and he rolls it and it makes this cute spiral and then he folds it over so when you pull it off, it rolls off. And I'm like, all right, fancy man, whatever. Just let me know when I come up balloons on it. Do we want to share?
You can fit a whole Aeropol arch or any arch that size, by the way, in the back of a Pacifica with the seats down.
yeah, I have a
35 feet.
Chrysler Town and Country, which
Same
is
thing. It's the same car.
the original, air quotes again, y'all, the original version of the Pacifica.
Pacifica.
And it is amazing. It is the best vehicle.
It is unbelievable what you can fit in that car, and the seats are inside the car. So if you have to do a job and then pick up kids, you just and they.
I have fit
flip them up.
Conrad the Unicorn in the back of that van and had tons of room to spare. I have fit 30-foot arch fully assembled. I mean, obviously not fully
Not on the
assembled,
poles.
but poles. No, they were on the poles.
I actually have done it on the poles.
I didn't do
35
Aeropoles.
feet.
Yeah, I did.
That's what I've done. I've done it with the Aeropoles and left like I built it and then we don't tape it. We do 2 poles at a time and build it and then disassemble it and stick it in to the back of the car and then put it on and wrap it on site. Only twice have I had to do that.
I was somewhere and somebody told me, "Oh, I have the Pacifica or the Town and Country. I don't remember which one. I can fit like 2 arches and 3 bouquets." I said, "No, you can fit a whole Aeropol arch in there, 35 feet of arch." She said, "No, you can't." I said, "Yes, you can."
Yeah.
It depends on how you do it. Yeah, my little mini drive-by arches, it's only 20 feet. And we have a Suburban, and I fit that whole thing assembled with the balloons on it. I just slide it into the Suburban, and it fits in there beautifully. And then we take it up. But for the top part, I use shark bite. So I do shark bite on top of 2 conduit poles, so that way when it goes in, it's not it has give.
It has more,
when it comes out because I was using aluminum rod. And when I put it in there, when I pull it out, it has this weird point that nobody but me can see, but I hate it. And so we started using the shark bite instead. And that way I know, okay, 5 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, that's 20 feet. Right. So I know exactly how long it is. Makes me happy. Do we want to do our vision boards?
Yeah, I did. If I could real quick, somebody wrote something really pretty here and I didn't want to interrupt earlier. It was scrolling. Dina Ashley. She says that it has certainly brought back joy. That is the balloons, right? The job doesn't seem as much as I'm sorry, Dina. I am not doing very well reading. I swear, English is my first language. Let me try again. It certainly has brought joy back. The job doesn't seem as much like a job anymore. The few times I have worked, seeing kids smile and people excited brings a newfound love for this to me. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, definitely.
It's so nice.
It is it like when I was twisting balloons, and I think I might have said this in our origin stories episode, where when people ask me like about my job, I'm like, my job is literally to hand out smiles all night long. Like that's what I do. I go to your birthday party and I just hand out smiles because it's just instant gratification whenever you're a twister.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Slightly delayed gratification whenever you're a decor person.
Yes.
But so much more on a grand scale. And so I really, really love the line of work that we've all chosen.
Yeah. And I talked about that with somebody when I was starting to do decor. And I remember, I think it was Erica Campriani. I'm going to say her last name wrong. But we were talking about decor versus twisting. And she said that she likes twisting because you get to be there when the people like see it, and with decor you don't. And I'm like, yeah, but look at all the beautiful things you get to make with decor.
Right.
And now with the deliveries, with the deliverables, when I knock on the door and I hear, I mean, the best thing is when a little kid comes to the door and you hear them, oh my gosh, look at the balloons, and like they're so happy, even adults.
Yeah.
I dropped off a 60th birthday and made a little airplane, and I mean, he was so giddy. I have never thought in my life I would say that a 60-year-old man was giddy about his balloons. He was laughing and he's like, look at the airplane, look at the cupcake, look at this. And I was like, I need that. Like, so yeah, I definitely it's fun getting that same joy that I got from twisting with the decor now. And now I'm like, oh, it does hit differently.
It does hit
And I
differently.
didn't realize it.
Sure.
Yeah, I was doing so, like, you know, a good amount of twisting that I didn't realize that the decor doesn't get the same reaction, because for me, I'm like, look at this amazing thing that I made. Like, it's beautiful. I'm awesome. It's so pretty. So I was hyping myself up, and now I'm like, oh, I like when people hype me up. Like,
do both at the same time.
So
yeah.
we've talked a lot about our businesses, a little bit of the pivoting, you know, going on. It seems like we've you know, made certain decisions. Steve says that Ronnie clearly didn't see Bill Clinton at the DNC in 2016. LOL.
Oh, isn't that the best? I always forget.
So good. He's like, this is my 3-foot balloon now. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm going to carry it around with me all night long.
Well, as soon as the release happens, and he's just balloons, I'm like, oh, that's cute. He's so cute. But I love Bill.
It's regardless of like who you voted for, where your politics lie. It was it was pretty precious.
He's my kind of president.
Yeah, it was pretty precious to see a grown man up there on stage, knowing that all the cameras and all the eyes are on him, and he was just kind of like, this is my balloon now. I'm gonna carry it with me wherever I go.
Yeah,
so cute.
But I didn't do those. It was nice seeing somebody that old be excited about something that I made.
Yeah, Stacy Chase says balloons equal happy. I think that's very succinct way of putting it. It's true,
definitely.
Unless you know you got a latex allergy, but even then, I think you can appreciate
even
them
that.
from afar.
My best friend, who's one of my assistants, has a latex allergy, and she's still like, "When are we making something?"
That's cute.
It's my little sister is scared to death of them. Something that she reminds me of every time I inflate a balloon in front of her. Mind you, she lives in Florida. I'm in New York, but still, I hear about it every single time. But boy, does she won't leave the room. She's got to sit there and watch. She very much enjoys it. And she came to Twist and Shout in 2016 in Florida. Whenever it was in Florida, she actually came and enjoyed herself and was not traumatized at all. So we can overcome phobias, y'all. Yep. Let's see. Before we begin our showing off our vision boards for 2021, I actually made a really good one for 2019, and I like, boom, checked it all off, like did really good, and did not do one for 2020. And I wish I had, so that way it probably would have given me a jump start in 2021, because as discussed, I've not done very much in the business part of my life. But do you guys have any personal triumphs from 2020? I mean, we all, I think, got a lot of downtime this year. Did you kind of like reassess? And
my grandson got married, so that was wasn't a triumph for me, but it was a high point of 2020. Of course, it happened before anything else happened. It was in January, so it's like, you know.
I focused a lot more on self-care. I realized that I was just kind of like trying to be all the things for all of the people and not really doing a lot for myself. And it's something that I started, I want to say, probably back in 2017, 2018, where I'm just kind of like, I was realizing, and a big part of that was because my kids were growing and they needed me, you know, less. And by needed me less, I mean, of course, you know, they were all young enough and still living at home at that point, but it was more
differently.
They needed me differently, right? You know, if I walked out of the room, I didn't have to worry about somebody, you know, drowning or stabbing themselves or setting something on fire. But you know,
well, the fire thing, maybe.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, even at my age, there's still a good chance that I could accidentally start a fire.
Yeah.
Cooking is hard, y'all.
Remind me to tell you about the kitchen fire my husband had a couple weeks ago when we were out of town.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, the moral of the story is whenever you heat up the cast iron pan, remember that you're heating it up whenever you walk out of the room.
Oh no.
So yeah, we're all good. We're all good. But on the we're all good front, whenever I started telling you guys about my medical issues that I had at the beginning of the year, no longer an issue. So I realized that
that's good.
I went right into my business.
There, but
I know I'm always like
we were too polite to ask.
Yeah, no, I'm all good. They took out a bunch of stuff that I didn't want or need, and biopsies, all that stuff is clear, good to go. This smile is genuine, it's not forced. So let's just I just realized that like I like dropped that bomb on you and didn't like give you any conclusion to that story,
but that is a triumph.
Yeah, it really is. And again it with that coupled with I was striving, for those of you that don't know, I think I know enough people in the float community. A lot of you guys are aware that I lost whole person. I lost 130 pounds in 2019 on purpose. And that was me trying to pay better attention to my health. 130 pounds is like literally a whole entire person. And I was carrying that. I was giving an adult a piggyback every day of my life. And so I was really striving to, focus more on me, on my health, and which is how we ended up, with me having surgery and everything, was because it was like, oh, this is an issue. Like this could be a really scary issue. And so that was a good thing, focusing on my health. But it also was like, but you know what? I used to read books all the time and I never read them now. Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca Morham is like, good for you. Yeah, good for me. I used to read books all the time and I never take the time to read them. I have them. I buy them. I carry them around with me. I've got ones that are so dog-eared because I take them with me on all the airplanes and trips I go on to. They look like they've been read 10 times and I haven't even cracked the cover. I've got a collection of, dust collectors.
I have 3 words for you: books on tape.
And I keep saying I'm going to do it, but and yes, I do have an Audible subscription. Have I used it yet? Not really.
I got rid of my Audible, but you can take them out of the library on.
Yeah,
I read Harry Potter.
When it's a physical book, I read better if I'm actually holding the book, as opposed to like I have Kindle on my phone and on my iPad, and I even have a little Kindle reader, and I still I would rather have the physical book in my hand and carry it around with me. I don't know what it is. I think it's that attention thing where like if I have it on my phone or something, then like I'm so easily distracted that it's like, oh, if a notification pops up, well, now I'm going to check that notification and the book
it's just one more thing to put a screen in front of my face,
No, I don't read so much on my Kindle, but we spend a lot of time in the car and I listen to books on tape. I read Harry Potter, read Harry Potter.
Hey, I've read more than one article that said listening to a book on tape, listening to, those audiobooks, it lights up the same parts of your brain as actually reading. So like,
I believe that because you really have to pay attention.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I find that actually sitting down and reading the book like more forces me into that zone where I'm less distracted. And so I would like make a cup of coffee and go sit out on the deck. I started with a friend. I started a silent reading group, silent book club is what it is. And so we meet on Zoom and say hi to everybody. We talk about what book we're reading today. And then we like go on mute for 45, 60 minutes. And then at the end, we will sit there and go, oh, let me read you this passage. Or, the one fellow that comes in, a lot of times he reads a lot of poetry and he'll read us like a verse or something. And
I have never heard of that before, but it sounds really interesting.
I really like that. I used to do that with a friend. We used to meet at a Starbucks that was super busy and we'd sit in the corner and we just both sit there with our headphones in reading together.
Yeah. And
like
so
not talking. But
that was one self-care thing.
That's good.
I know I've told a lot of you that I looked down one day and realized that my nails were long because they weren't like being like worked off or ripped off by balloons. Like I wasn't filing them all the time. And so like I actually started like really taking care of my fingernails. In another life, I was a nail technician. And so I know what to do and I have all the stuff to do it, but I wasn't doing it, y'all. So I was just kind of like, that girl, you need to start, taking better care of your money makers. And I have been for like, I probably about the past 5 months been really diligent about taking good care of my hands. I give myself like little massages and flexing and everything. I'm getting older, things are starting to tighten up. And uh, as I realized recently with taking on some contract work when I hadn't worked in a while, I've lost a lot of my calluses and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
doing what I can to
I still have my
prevent
callus.
injuries. That's a good thing though too, right?
It is.
I rediscovered pains that like I remember from when I very first started doing balloons, and it was like, oh, I haven't done something this big in a while. And it was like, oh, I remember when that used to hurt after a job. Like, it's like what? Like I thought that I got over that, and it was yeah, it's
It's
it's weird. It's so weird because I'm like I don't feel that pain anymore. And
well,
now I
so
do again.
two personal, like, positive things to come from 2020 and the pandemic is I've reassessed. I mean, I already was kind of on that path with like my health and things, but I've been taking time to read more. I haven't finished a book yet, even though I've been doing this for about 5 months, but I've started like 8. I just like pick up whatever is floating my boat that day. So I am making progress every week in the book department there, and I'm taking better care of my hands, which is something I haven't been doing, and it's really kind of been reflecting. I shouldn't say reflecting. It's something that's really become more apparent as of late. Is that with my poor cuticles, my fingernails breaking, that kind of thing. I'm taking better care. What about you guys? Anything that you've like because of the pandemic, because of 2020, you've had a chance to like go?
Well, it took me, I think, 4 months of the pandemic to grow out the tips I had on my fingers. And I swore I was never going to do it again because it took me so long. And I had weeks and weeks where it was really disgusting because they were growing out and I had no way to. And I lasted about a month and a half after. And then I put them back on because I missed them so much because I can do that with my nails. And I guess from all the years of having tips, they were, but I'm trying to think of something that I think I maybe started to focus a little more on family. Like even that my family doesn't live in my house anymore. Everybody is sort of scattered. And I made sure that we should speak more often and take more time to find out what's going on. It's not always easy because everybody had a house full of kids that they were busy trying to keep from destroying each other and the house because everybody was on lockdown. But I got to speak to the grandchildren more. And I think the fact that when we do see each other and they can't give me a hug and they can't give me a kiss, they come to say hi more. It's not just like run in, give me a hug, and then go off to do what they want to do. They come and they talk to me. And I think if we learned anything, we need to learn that we need to appreciate each other. And we have to
Yes.
appreciate the people in our lives because all of this that we do and all the killing of ourselves that we do with all this business and working and making ourselves nuts and trying, what is the point if it's not to make our personal lives a little bit better? And if it's not, then we have to really examine that a little bit and see what we can do to make our personal life a little better. When I did do this vision board, which we'll probably have to wait till next week to show them, but it's not all business. A lot of it is personal stuff that I want to work on and personal stuff that I want to see happen. So, and even the business goals are mostly personal because I'm at that stage in my business.
Same. It was really hard for me whenever I was working on my vision board to not make it all a personal stuff, because I do have business goals for 2021, but really it stems from my personal goals and what I want from my business. What about you, Ronnie?
For me, well, for 2020, so at the
Let me
end of
see your
last
vision
year,
board. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
well, for me, like for 2020, the things like it's so weird because at the beginning of the year, I decided that I was going to stand up for myself and excuse my language, but like I was going to completely distance myself from people that made me feel like shit. And I also had decided, because I looked at my Facebook friends and I had 700 Facebook friends. And I was like, why? I don't know or like 700 people. There's just no way that what am I doing? And so I went through and I just started removing people that either I had no interest in what they were doing or they showed no interest in what I was doing. And it was kind of nice. I that was my like January, and that was my goal for 2020, was to start standing up for myself. And I had said, okay, when people ask you about somebody like in particular, so like there is one like particular person that this happened with a lot, because we have a lot of mutual friends, and people would be like, oh, if I had a party or something, like if I was hosting a party at my house, and this is something that happened in 2019, 2018, so this is before 2020, and they would be like, oh, how come this person wasn't invited? And I'm like, oh, they just weren't invited. And I never really told people why. I just kind of tried to be cordial about it, because again, we're mutual friends. 2020 came around. I had a party in January and somebody was like, how come this person was invited? And I was like, because she's a bitch and I don't like her. And they were like, wait, what just happened? And I told her, I'm like, we're not friends. And the thing that really bothered me, and this was one of those where, okay, I'm distancing myself from these people that I don't like. And then I started distancing myself from people who didn't understand that if I say I don't like this person, just because you're friends with that person doesn't mean that I don't have a different experience with them. And the people who were like, well, I've never, and like, you know what? Then we don't need to be friends either, because you don't understand that not everybody is friends. And I started like, I was like, I'm just going to make peace with this. And 2020 is going to be the year of like me not keeping my mouth shut anymore. And then everything started shutting down. And
You
all
shut
of,
off the world, Ronnie,
well,
because you
no,
told everybody not to be friends. We didn't have any friends.
it
It's
was
all
this
your fault.
well, it was this weird thing where then all of a sudden these people who didn't give a crap about me for the last 10 years that I've known, that I've had on friends lists, all of a sudden are popping up with all these Zoom things. And I'm like, we haven't spoken in 7 years, and all of a sudden you're having a Zoom party or you're having an in-person party. And then it was like, okay, well, if somebody, at the time it was like you could have 25 people safely at your house. So it was like, okay, if somebody took the time to make me a part of that small circle, that means that I'm important to them, and that's a big deal. And so anytime that somebody invited me to something, I like, would reassess that and go, okay, like that's very important, and they're making it so that I am a part of this tiny group of people that they care about. So I started making more time for those people, and then it just kind of like started spiraling again, and I started realizing that like I'm like, okay, like what is actually like my priority in friendships and things like that. And so that was kind of something that I focused more on in 2020. And I did find myself, finding myself letting myself be talked down to a lot in a lot of different areas, and I'm going, oh no, we're not doing this again, because I did so well for the whole for the whole of the year, that I'm like, on a personal note, like I can't let myself get that way again, because at the end of the day, like when you say something to somebody, no matter what it is, you have no idea what they're going through. Like my husband chopped off the top of his finger on March 6th. And then we had health scares with my 95-year-old father. And of course, everybody's businesses are shutting down and all these things that are happening. And I'm going, you know what? If somebody's going to be mean to me, like I'm done. I have to cut them off. I have to stick with that. It doesn't matter if I'm invited or not. So even if those people were making me a part of their little group of like 25, if they made me feel like crap, I had to cut them off. And it's not been easy, because I miss being around people and I miss being invited to things. But if I'm not strong for myself, I'm going to start going down a path that I did when I was younger. And that's going to start going into like eating disorder and like mental illness and all these things. And I'm like, yes, I want to be skinny, but I want to continue eating tacos. So so I have to know that it's like now, like I can't revert back to that, 22 insecure person. like that same person that I was when I was 22. Like I'm 37 now. I literally can't afford to do that. So I have to be strong. And it sucks because on one part, again, excuse my language, I really don't want people to be like, Ronnie's a bitch. But I'm like, you know what? If you think that of me, then there's a good reason. And that's okay. I have to be okay with that. So yeah. So that was 2020
Made
for
us
me.
realize like who is really important in our lives and who isn't. Because
There's a
all of us,
saying.
our circles shrank, and
Oh
even
yeah.
when we were allowed to have any kind of social interaction, it was so limited. You had to choose, who do I want to be with?
Yeah,
And
there's
who
a
and who
saying
do you
that's
want
something along the
and
lines
who
of,
do you
Family
want
and
to
friends also.
yeah, and picking my battles definitely was not something that I was doing very well, like especially if you're on my Facebook feed, like, oh, let me tell you, I was like, bring it, let's fight, because I will put you in your place. Like I am definitely not shy about voicing my opinion, and I kind of had to like calm down from that also, because that realization of like, you're not going to change people's minds, and people are going to think a certain way no matter how much you present a different side of that. And that's also been something that I'm like, I gotta realize that like some people are never going to see it another way, and that's okay. And that's been very tough for me on a personal level, because I want people to see things with open eyes, and I want people to see things from every point of view, and they're just not. People are
Hannah
not.
True just chimed in and she said quality over quantity, and I
Yep,
wholeheartedly agree.
100%.
I was going to say there's a saying that goes something along the lines of make time for the people who make time for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very fitting. I think earlier, no, I did earlier tell you guys, like, I was trying to be all the things for all the people, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I realized I can't do that, and I have to
Doesn't work.
choose. And it's a very
Yeah.
hard thing for people to learn sometimes, is to say no.
Yeah.
And you know, when those people call in with that last minute job, and you're like, gosh, you know, I'm gonna have to like overnight these balloons, and I'm gonna have to work through the night to get this done, and then I have to get up super early and get this delivered because I've got a doctor's appointment with my son in the morning. And you know, like I'm gonna be lucky if I'm able to. It's just like, no, you can say no. It's okay. Like, anybody who's ever curious, like, I give you permission to say no. You know,
One of my favorite sayings is, your lack of planning does not constitute my emergency.
right.
Yeah.
Now, you can ask me and I can be nice and say yes, but because you didn't plan well doesn't mean I have to say yes.
Yep. And I feel
Oh,
the same
yeah,
thing with our prices too. It's like if I say that this is my price, your budget doesn't set my prices.
right.
Like, you know, plain and simple. And that's it's tough. It's tough, because
Not easy
sometimes,
to do.
especially if you're a people pleaser. Like, I am definitely a people pleaser, and I want everybody to like me. And
Yeah.
now recently I'm like, I don't care if you like me, because I like me. I'm
So
amazing.
I have to
Much
pose
more important that you like you than anybody else likes you.
Yeah,
I
I like
have to
myself now.
pose a question to you guys. Since, you know, Debbie brought it up, and I'm like, oh, maybe we will. Because I'm really sad that Stephanie's not able to be here, because this is supposed to be kind of like a an episode where we show you guys our vision boards for next year, and then we do like a follow-up episode at the end of next year, just to like revisit those vision boards and see, do we want to save our vision boards for next week?
I think
I'm
we
fine
have
with that.
to. We really don't have much time left.
Yeah, I mean, we could do like
Yeah,
a quick
I'm fine with
flash
that.
just so it's on the screen, but you know,
We're
apologize for
putting it
being
to
so
sleep
chatty, y'all.
now, and next week we're going to show what we're
Yeah, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I think that's a good transition. We this whole episode was just one long tease for next week, y'all. You know, we got our vision boards done. This isn't us being shady and asking for one more week to get our homework finished. We did finish our homework.
We have it. Mine's
We
pretty
shared it. We shared it before the episode began. We're all good there. We just want to make sure that our fourth partner in crime is able to
Plus,
join
it was
us.
Stephanie's idea.
That's right. It was her idea.
Yeah, it was Stephanie's idea. So yeah, we can wait till next week.
130 pop drops she's doing, and she only started advertising last Saturday. Not even.
Yeah, well, she did say that like 45 of those was in like the first day or two, and they were all the repeat clients from the elf. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So you know, boy,
can't ask for more.
we
So
need to
it's so
find a
funny. We
candy
were
shop.
talking about I think we kind of, you don't have to talk about it, but I always laugh when I hear that saying, when it's like, oh, it takes 6 people to carry your casket. And I'm like, that's nice. I'm getting cremated, so it's going to take 1 person to carry me.
I never heard either of those things.
I haven't either.
Yeah, you need 6 people to carry your casket. I'm like, I'm getting cremated. We're good.
Every funeral, and it's always been on like a roller. So
Mhm.
you just need one guy pushing from the back. So,
Just pushing the back.
I mean, there's
Have
always
you
seen-
people standing next to it and they're like acting like pallbearers. But no, I don't know if anybody really carries a casket anymore. It's on a
Debbie's got the
It depends
workaround
on-
there.
I
My
think
goodness.
it depends on, because if you take it from the hearse, it has to be lifted onto the thing, and then usually from the. I've been to a lot of funerals. This is not. This is.
It's so
I don't even
unfortunate.
want to know.
I have a lot of very, very old family members. Like I said, my dad is 95. My mom is one of 9, and my grandfather lived to be 100. So yeah, I went to my first funeral when I was 5, and a year that went by that I didn't go to a funeral was like a weird year for me.
I thought it had to do with you getting rid of all those friends. I thought maybe it was a recent
no,
development.
they don't.
She got rid of
buried
them.
in the
Yes, rid
desert.
of your friends.
Yeah, they're buried in the desert somewhere between here and Utah, and some
Your
between here and
friends.
Arizona. Just depends on the weather that day.
Dory
For all intents and purposes, that was a joke.
Dory says that may be the quote of the night. got
I've
rid
been
of
to a lot of
got
funerals.
rid of your
Oh, got rid
friends.
of.
Right, we're all using the air quotes now.
Yeah.
You don't like
So,
me, I don't like you.
Yeah, we're good.
Debbie Levy, my goodness.
I keep surprising you guys. What can I do?
I love it. I love it. I love it. So then I
My
guess
goal is
put-
not to be predictable. That's what my goal is.
you need to put that on your vision board. for
On my
next week.
vision board, right? I'm gonna
Be
add it.
even less predictable. I think that you're definitely Dory has corrected me. I've been to a lot of funerals is her quote of the night. I've been to a lot of funerals. Yeah, that
I'm gonna
is
put that on a
that is
t-shirt.
that is a good one. So let's do that. Let's put 2020 to bed. We've talked about 2020, and so next episode we'll be talking about our vision boards.
Putting it to bed and burying it in the desert.
Yeah. Along with Ronnie's rejects.
Yeah, Ronnie's putting it to bed. She's putting it to bed. In the desert, y'all. In the desert.
It's sleeping with the fishes, as the saying
Not in
goes.
Las Vegas, it's not sleeping with any fishes. There's no
There's
fish.
fish in Lake Mead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right,
they're mutated fishes.
And I learned a new thing today.
There's fish in
All
Lake
right.
Mead.
So let's go ahead and wind up with that. Do you guys have anything to share? We don't have Stephanie to tell you all about Working Wonders.
Well, she
Yeah,
is our
Don't
working
forget.
wonder.
The
She is
wonder of
our
the week, I
working
mean.
wonder.
Do you guys want to
Don't forget to email us what your wonder of the week is, and I don't know the email address.
float Working Wonders
Right. At gmail.com.
at Gmail.
Float
And
Working
it
Wonders.
is in the video description for this episode. We'd
Send
love
us
to
your
hear
fun
from you
things.
guys.
We
Whatever
really would
it
love
is.
to hear from somebody.
Yeah, we really do want to know. If there's something that you want to share, it doesn't matter what it is. Just let us know.
Be
But
proud
like
of your work.
Stephanie says, that's not just who we are, it's what we do.
Yeah. So I think we'll bring it to a close. The Float Network. This is the last episode for the Float Network for the year. So
Yep.
yay, we made it.
Yay!
I mean, we're only 5 episodes in, but
We're the
we
baby-
did.
we're the
We haven't been
babies
canceled
of the
yet.
network.
So that's really good. And we'll see you guys next week for episode 6. This just basically was an hour-long trailer teaser for that episode. If you want to see our vision boards, go ahead and turn in next week, Wednesdays.
Everybody
So
should have a happy new year.
please do. How
And you know what?
how?
Since, if you want to make a vision board and send it to us with the description, we can share that as your
We would be happy
working
to.
wonder also. Whether it's a personal, like my vision board is 50-50 personal and business. So
Mine
let
also.
us know what your goals for 2020 are.
I've
and we
got
can share
personal,
them.
lots of personal stuff on there too. So
And
hopefully we'll see you guys next week. All right.
Yes. See See you next week.
All
Happy
right,
New
see you
Year.
next week. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Bye.